Well, hello everybody. This is Daniel with Daniel's Bullion Coins. Got my sweet wife Ingrid here today.
Good morning.
We're looking forward to an exciting video this week.
Yes,
Let's
boy,
take
a
it on.
lot happened this
A
week,
lot
didn't it?
happened, a lot.
Especially in the news.
We're going to get into all of it because there's a lot of things not being talked about that need to be talked about.
Okay, let's start off. What was the first thing you
The
noticed?
week in review. Well, let's talk about our customers, what we
Yeah.
see here at the shop. And it's the haves and the have-nots, and it's getting further and further apart. One person walks in and buys 5 figures worth of gold, and then 10 people walk in selling $1,000 worth of scrap gold or silver or coins, whatever they can scrape up. They're really scraping the bottom of the barrel. So we're seeing the divide and people getting further. This week was right down the middle, buyers and sellers. Now there may have only been one buyer and 10 sellers, but numerically the amounts are about the same.
Wow,
So,
I mean, the ones that have the money, they're just sloshing around in it. Isn't
they
it
really
amazing?
are. They come in
Golly.
and $10,000 is just nothing to
Then
them.
they come back later and get more.
Yeah, come back and get another 10,000, and it's just nothing to them. And then you see these other people coming in, and they might be getting $200 or $500, maybe $900 in scrap, and they're struggling. You can just tell they're struggling. So the divide is getting wider, and it boils down to being prepared and just all these things. It's not just an overnight thing.
Yeah.
You've got to work at it every day to be the haves instead of the have-nots. And that's why we do these videos, is to try to get you prepared.
It's a series of choices
Yes, an effort.
for a long, long time.
Right.
Really.
Over
It's
and over.
choices.
Yes. So yeah, that's a little bit. Of course, the Feds. Everybody knows the Feds did their rate cut this week, and what we need to highlight about that is the trend. He used the word trend, and that is the key thing. Everything revolves around the trend. They're saying they're going to go lower. They have their Fed papers. That's telling you they're going to go lower with interest rates. The dot plot tells you that they're going to go lower with interest rates. So what does that mean? Gold and silver are going to go up. And we saw that exactly what Ingrid and I talked about would happen this week. They lowered 25%. We saw massive swings, $30 up, $60 down, $30 back
I
up.
just couldn't find
It just was all over the place. But just like we talked about, that by the end of the week, we were up over $43 for silver, and I really thought we'd be up over $3,700 for gold. We got very, very close.
Yeah.
I think we'll break 3,700 early next week, and I think the foot is on the gas pedal for where we're going on gold and silver over the next couple of weeks. It's just going to be astronomical.
Yeah, they've already promised the trend is, they're going to keep lowering and lowering and lowering. So
Yes, that higher and higher prices for gold and silver are coming. And a lot of what we have this week to talk about is just more pressure for higher and higher gold and silver. I wish I could just put it all in one word, but we're going to dump it a little at a time here to get it all out.
Try to. And then what we saw in the China tangible.
Oh yes, that was interesting, very interesting. So in the China market, they actually had a collapse on their tangibles. So actual coin shops and coin places were going under because the wholesalers were going under. They operate on a very tight margin, and they were playing a Ponzi type scheme, expecting the price of gold to drop, and they were playing it, and they've gone bankrupt. And so smaller coin shops are not able to recycle in China right now because the larger coin places have gone under because the price of gold is climbing higher and higher, and they were Ponzi scheming the market. So this is a small reality of what's coming on a much bigger scale. And this is a warning for everybody that's in bars. I've always said don't be in bars, be in 90% or currency, so that you can actually go out and exchange with other people. If you have to come in and exchange your bars for currency, you may be caught up in a situation where economic instability at that time, where places are going bankrupt and you're not able to get cash, and that's what's happening in China right now. They cannot convert into currency. You want to already be in currency. We have a
Coins.
currency problem.
Yeah.
Why would you be buying bars when there's a currency problem? And I see a lot of people buying them off the internet, and they come in when they need to liquidate them, they come to the local coin shop. And it's hard for us to turn those because, number one, we don't believe in them, so we discourage people from buying them. So we have to take them to a wholesaler, so you lose a lot of money there. But you bring something in like a gold coin, a buffalo, an eagle, or a maple leaf, we can turn that item.
Right.
And if the economy, if our wholesaler goes under, we could have the COMEX collapse. And then we could actually lose some of our wholesalers, and we could lose the ability to recycle those bars. Right now, we have that ability. So there's just lots of reasons. That's one of them, that you don't want to be in bars, you want to be in coins.
Right. And if you take it somewhere, not a coin shop, they have no way of verifying
A bar,
really.
exactly.
Not readily.
Yes.
So they're going to be less reticent.
Yes, and they're going to know also that, hey, how am I going to get rid of this bar?
Right.
If I'm buying this bar from you, and nobody's buying them from me, how am I going to get rid of them? The price of them is going to drop really
Because
significantly.
they're more easily faked, right?
Right, the authenticity and the faking and all of that. So it's encouragement to stay out of bars, and especially when you look at what's happening in China as an example. That could easily happen here.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a Mad Max scenario. It could just be that the wholesaler goes bankrupt and you can't unload your bars any longer. People are going to want something that has authenticity and has exchangeability, two-party system.
And what China also, they gold back their repo.
Oh, isn't that interesting this week?
Yeah.
Yes. So that's not very many people are talking about this. But it's major. They've been backing their currency, and they've been opening new facilities. I think it was Hong Kong, they opened one a couple of weeks ago. Now they've opened a facility in Saudi Arabia, and now they're backing their repo market. Their overnight lending market is now backed by gold. So they're moving very quickly, and you can see the dollar has lost 25% of its Saudi Arabia backing oil as a currency.
Whoa.
So we never thought we'd be that far, out of the market. Other currencies, the yuan and other currencies, are being used. So we're diminishing the use of the dollar. The dollar's being traded for gold. We talked about last week how the amount of gold banks are holding actually exceeded the amount of dollars that the banks are holding. So all of these things are happening. You start adding them up, and it's a trend, like the Fed said, for higher gold and silver. And I think we're going to see astronomical prices in the next couple of weeks. And I'm expecting any time in the next 4 to 6 months that the United States is going to come out and back with gold.
Right, he said that.
Yes.
He said even back the crypto with gold.
Right, and the crypto element there is sort of what we talked about last week, that they're going to put the dollar into crypto and then cut the value of the dollar again and reduce the debt that way. So more inflation.
Oh,
so, that Trump is talking about the market and how it's going up, but be careful that inflation is also going higher. The value of the dollar is diminishing faster than the market is going up. Now he's trying to, like we've talked about before, all those things moving down the sidewalk together, the market, wages, productivity, and inflation moving together, but it's going to be very, very tricky, and it could easily break away and inflation could start to run again. So keep an eye on the bond market.
That's where you need to be.
Right. You would think that when we lowered interest rates that the bond market would have actually settled down a little bit, but the bond market vigilantes actually moved bonds higher. So this trend that the Fed has could actually be severed and stopped instantly by the bond vigilantes coming in and accelerating that. So we're going to be watching that very, very closely.
So he could be saying the trend is down, but he could change his mind.
He might have to, right? He may have to, because the bond vigilantes will start to say, hey, look, you're selling your 30-year or your 20-year bonds at below 5%, 4.5%, I think it is. We want a higher yield because of the risk. You're going to devalue the currency, these other factors. Inflation is truly running higher and faster, and the bond vigilantes may start to move it higher, and that would cause the Fed abandoned their dropping the rates
Yeah.
and all that. That's why I say, I've always said, we're going to have a collapse either willingly or unwillingly, and we're leaning towards unwillingly. But Trump is trying to do it very gently.
So
It's
if
going to be
they
tough.
do move the interest rate up, if he decides it goes back on his word, what would that do to gold and silver?
Oh my goodness, it just would be astronomical, because you already have Gary Gunlap saying get into gold 25% of your portfolio. No mainstream person or money market
Wow.
person has said that. This is, it's starting to be a trend. There's starting to be articles. They're already saying get out of bonds and get into gold.
Oh my goodness.
And I mean, if just a fraction of these investors move into tangible gold or move into miners and things, it'll explode the market. It'll absolutely explode it. And he's saying that when we're at $3,700 gold. So he's expecting gold to go much, much higher if he's saying 25% of your portfolio should be in gold.
Wow.
And he's one of the largest money manager
So
funds
silver
out there.
would go up too.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
So
Oh,
it's not
silver.
just gold.
Silver has potential beyond belief. It's just, we have one of the things that we're going to talk about this week is one of the questions coming up is the cycles that we're in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we'll get into that. But let's finish this.
Well, I was going to add one more thing. You said, we were saying yesterday at home, you said gold has gone up 8,000%.
Yes. Yes. Well, since 1971, when Nixon said that it was going to be temporary and it was going to strengthen the dollar. Well, it hasn't been temporary. We're 54 or 55 years into being unhooked off of gold, and we're 8,000% higher on the price of gold since 1971. And it's going to go exponentially higher. Because we've unhooked.
It's amazing.
You see those old menus, you know, from the 70s or the 60s, and a hamburger's 20
McDonald's, 5
cents.
cents.
Right. 5 cents for this and 10 cents for that, for a shake or whatever. Very, very cheap.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I remember as a kid, it was a nickel for your milk, and how much more expensive things are now. Everybody talks about how cheap things were 20 years ago. Well, it's the dollar going down 8,000% since
Against
1971. Yeah.
Okay, we had a question on talking about pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, the non-silver ones.
Yes, the non-silver
answer that.
currency, whether or not to hang on to that, and will that work in a collapse? And I think it could. I think it could. People will be so desperate for currency that they will use the old paper money and they will use the old coins. Now, the paper money will wear out pretty quickly and it won't be any good. So people will gravitate to the coins just to have something to use as currency. You saw what happened in World War II in 1943. We had to produce a steel penny because we need a currency so bad to keep the commerce going. And we produced the most amount of pennies in that 1 year. I think it took 3 or 4 years to equal as many pennies were made in 1943. And that's because of the demand for currency. And same thing like when we had the cough back in 2020.
Yeah.
The Wawa gas stations were paying an extra 10% if you would pay in change.
Right.
So if you went in there with $10 a
yeah.
roll of quarters, they would give you $11 for that roll of quarters because of the currency problem and just that little tiny bit of shakeup. There was a demand for those non-silver currencies. Now, I don't recommend anything, and I certainly don't recommend saving. I would say take your dimes, pennies, and quarters and go buy some silver. Save it up and buy some silver, or copper. You know, you'd be better off in copper or silver. The nickel's a good coin to save.
Now they're saying since they're not going to be minting the penny anymore, do you expect the pennies, the ones that are minted this year,
Good
you
question.
think those will go up?
Yes, the 2025 pennies are already about $50 to $75 per roll because they only made them in January or a little bit in February. So there's only just a few rolls out there, and so they're really, really super valuable. And as time goes along, the copper pennies are going to start to increase in value, in my opinion. I'm guessing that that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, grab the copper pennies out of circulation and save those because they're going to go up in value.
You can still find those in circulation.
Yes. We get plenty of them coming in.
Yeah, maybe
we sure
not the
do.
Wheat ones, the older ones, but the copper for sure.
The memorial ones from
Right.
59 to 81, yes,
Yeah.
and
So
halfway
save
through
those,
82. Good questions.
Do you think there's a pullback coming?
Yeah, that's so funny. I hear these YouTube channels, and they're talking about the pullback that's coming, and watch out, it's going to go below
What are they
3,000
talking
or
about?
whatever.
Oh,
Well, what
goodness.
they're doing is they're looking at a very short technical cycle that they can look at in the market and say, well, there's a cup and a handle here, and we've reached the top of it, and all these technical flag things. Well, what I'm saying is that this cycle is a much, much larger situation
Right. They're
where
looking
we're
too
going back
small.
100 years and even thousands of years and looking at the trends and the cycles. And this trend and this cycle, if you factor in inflation in the dollar, we are nowhere near where we should be. And I would actually say that this is the very, very low beginning and start of this super cycle back up to where we need to be.
Wow. That's a
So
super
there's no
cycle.
pullback coming. This is it. There's no more buying the lows. I think that the big market movers are going to get caught with their shorts, and they're going to have to go into the market and buy to cover their shorts, and that's going to really accelerate the market right now. And we already know that the big banks and these countries are starting to buy gold and silver, and they're going to buy at any price because they're buying with fake paper currency. And there's a pyramid that shows the amount of dollars in circulation and then the amount of silver, and it comes down to a little tiny spot. And you take all of those dollars and they start chasing silver. And we use the expression of running out the fire escape, running out the fire door at the movie theater.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be much worse than that example, because when they stack the dollars up, you know, they're taller than the skyscrapers in New York. And then you look at silver, and it's this little tiny, proportionately, it's this little dot. And when those dollars chase that silver, it's just hard to imagine what the price of silver will be in dollar terms.
Oh my goodness. Now I've got a quote written down here. Fortunes favor the prepared.
Yes, I heard that this week, and I just wanted to pass that quote along to everybody. Fortunes favor the prepared, and that's true.
Yeah.
You know, I remember a funny story. My friends and I, we all got together. We went on a skiing trip, and one of the girls that came on the skiing trip, she had her little purse with her and her little bag, and so things would happen. Oh, I need a Band-Aid. She would have one. Oh, I need some chapstick. Oh, she would have chapstick. Oh, I need some suntan lotion, or I need gloves, or whatever. She had it. She was the most prepared person. And it got to be a real joke that whole ski trip, how prepared that girl was. She had anything and everything. If you needed a paper clip or a safety pin is what I mean to say, she had it. And she was prepared.
Yeah.
And she was the hero of the weekend for being prepared.
Being prepared.
Yeah, so that's a good
one.
That's a good one.
Be prepared, not scared.
Be prepared,
Don't
not
be
scared.
Be prepared. That's
Don't
what
be a hoarder. You know, it's funny
Right.
how nuts people went over toilet paper. You know, they just went nuts over toilet paper. Now, what do you think is going to happen when there's no food or there's no currency? People are different nowadays than they were, you know, 40, 50 years ago.
Oh my.
So keep that in mind. And when you're thinking about, well, should I be prepared or should I not be prepared? Well, we enjoy coming to see you all this week.
Blessings,
Be blessed.
everybody.
Talk to you next week. Bye-bye.